Hey everybody, tonight's video we're going to go over the Nasdaq key levels. Very simple trade that anybody can do. I'm going to go through a couple earnings plays that happened this evening that are moving pretty fast after hours, and then what you should be looking for tomorrow. So this is going to be packed with information, so you're probably going to want to watch it a couple times. A little different than what we normally do, but there's a lot going on here. So if you were on the pre-market call this morning, the live one, we were talking about this 13.2, 13.3 range and how that range has consistently been the upper band. We were talking about this slope and how we've been sloping throughout this area. And right there you can see how you have that kind of rounding associated with it. Excuse my childlike handwriting. But when you see this slope, now you drill into this. The first thing you're going to want to notice is that if you look at the sectors, which we'll get to later, there's no leadership, right? So there's no leadership whatsoever. You poke out of 3.3 over here, you poke out over here, and then you can start seeing the change. You can see your neckline pretty clearly right in here, but let's just draw it in just so you can see pretty clear. Just make this really big and thick so you just can't absolutely miss it, right? So everybody can see that level right in there. And that's that 13,000 that has been support, and it has flipped to what? It's flipped to resistance. Let's clean all this off and drill into this, because now you see the slope. Right? So now you know what you're dealing with. Now, this is all going on why Microsoft crushed numbers. Google said that they were going to have a huge buyback of 70 billion, right? This is going on why Taiwan Semi beat. Okay, they didn't beat on the revenue front, but they beat on the earnings front. They gave good guidance. Stock's down 10 points from there. And we can go through the list, and we're going to. So ASML, great numbers. What did they do? And here are the numbers. They beat. 20%, 8% on the revenue side. Stock's down 40 points. LRCX, same thing. This is all going to connect. Okay, we were talking about this one in the Alpha Chasers community, and everybody was getting excited because it was over here, and I was saying just be careful. 40 points later. Okay, so now just remember this. If you remember anything about this video, if you have really good news and your stocks are going down, that is bearish sentiment. You want to get out of the way. It's not the news that you want, it's the action that you're looking for that you expect the news to provide. All right, hope that makes sense. Now, you can see the slope here and how we're sloping, right? Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We've talked about this ad nauseum. We'll clean it up and we'll cut this two different ways before we go forward. So here you are right in this level, and we kept saying 13,000, you need to watch 13,000. And then we broke that 13,000. You can see that right there. If you were to look at this and you humor me and you say that in here is one big flag and this is the flagpole, okay, you could look at it that way. Now you could also just look at it this way and say, well, it's more of a wedge, and I think it's more of a wedge, and we're going to get into that in a minute in the hourly here. And then all you ever do with these, you always want the same trajectory. So there's always a button, no matter what it is, called clone, right? There's always a button called clone. You just kind of want to drop that in and see where it fits, and you can see how it fits in here perfectly. And then you have the cut, right? Because you want the same angle. That's how you know you have a channel. So you can see here that we've broken, whether or not you're using these two top highs, whether you're using the flag, no matter how you're slicing it, you've broken down. Now that you have a major trend, what you do is you go into the hourly, and that's exactly what we did. I went through this all in the pre-market. If you don't watch the pre-markets, I suggest you watch them later in the day. I do them daily at 8:15. Quite frankly, it's packed with information that'll help you through the day. People can comment below on it, but I give a lot of information that can actually help you during the day make better choices. I'm not telling you what to do. Obviously, it's not financial advice, but I can just help you, point you in the right direction to make a better decision for yourself. You can see your trend line right in here pretty clearly. You can see how you popped out of your trend line right here, right, on Wednesday, 4 o'clock, right? And then what happens? We pop back in, boom, 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 and here we go. Off we are, right? So we're in this channel, and we know where this channel is, right? Now, at the same time that we're aware that this channel's here, you can see a small slope right along here as well before this even popped over. Right before this even pops over here, right? You can see back here that evening you have this small slope right here that this tries to get through. And this is going to become critical in a minute. But I think it's important because you want to drill into this. So now that you have an hourly, what you do is now you have a 15-minute, right? So now what we've done is gone from the weekly, daily, down from an hourly to a 15-minute. So now you can see the channel, right, on a 15-minute. Look how clean that is. okay? And then you can see the mini channel right here. And at the same time, we know 13,000 is the number, right? So what we're watching for is that 13,000 today. So when we see us get over this, we have to assume that it's going to at least come back and retest before it's going to break out, right? So before this breaks out and retests, we have to know that 13,000 is that key level. It's the same exact level we went over today. It's the level that we watched all day today. I'm going to prove it to you in timestamps in a second here. So when you have this level marked, and I'm telling you this for a reason, okay, and then it reacts this way, you want to see the break. Okay? Even if you don't want to wait for the retest, which you might not get on the index, you'll get a retest more in an individual name than the index. Too many players. So as soon as you break here, that's it. Now, I'll show you exactly what we were looking at. Now, this is our trading community. I'm just showing you what we do live so that you get it. So here's the NQ chart. This is what I post. Here's that trend line, the major trend line. Here is your resistance line. And I'm posting that this is exactly where we're starting to run into a problem so that we can start setting up and get ready for the trade. You can see the comments and you can see the timestamps. The reason I'm showing you this is so that you can understand where we're going to go with this. This is all leading to something. So now you can see that we're prepared. We know exactly what we're looking for. We know where our levels are. We know where our channel is. And we know that we now need to be careful with tech long. So I put that out there and I just let everybody know an hour into this, hey, by the way, you want to be really careful here with what's going on. This was an hour later because I started to see it working. So what we did was we went out there and we bought puts. I like to go out to Friday, not do at the money, just in case it gets really crazy and I want to carry it overnight and take the risk. So in this case, we bought the Q puts, 313s, 177. Within 2 hours, they were up 90%. And at the same time, NVIDIA rolled, and I'll walk you through that as well. At the same time, we went out there and just bought SQQ at the market, low a day stop. Very simple trades based upon one thing, pattern recognition and knowing where support and resistance were. That was it. Okay. Once we were unable to get through 13,000 on Microsoft crushing numbers and Google buying $70 billion of its own stock back, you knew you had a problem. All right. So what I'm getting at is coming into tomorrow, you're going to be excited and the market's going to be excited because you're going to see Meta this evening. Okay. And you're going to think that Meta is going to lift the entire market up and take the entire market with it, okay? And I'm here to be like the grump or the Grinch that stole Christmas and tell you that's probably not how this is going to play out. You're probably going to wind up rallying, but until that Nasdaq, until you see this Nasdaq above 13,000, you need to have the brakes on, right? I'm going to be pretty emphatic about that, right? You can disagree with me all you want. That's fine. That's what makes a market. Telling you that until you are over that 13,000 range, you need to have the brakes on. You need to let this sort itself out and make sure that it's going to stabilize. There's a lot of moving parts here that we're just not aware of that could come out and could affect the market. I'll give you one example, okay? This little dumpster fire that they're just letting trade to existence. I've been talking about FRC for some time. Okay, this has been down 95% or 90%, and we're all acting like it's not a big deal. They gave a 10-minute conference call, refused to take questions, and the stocks got cut in half yet again. Okay, now it's $5. Nobody wants to buy them. Okay, nobody wants to buy them. The Fed is calling people, telling them, hey, you need to get involved. All right, so how do you play this? You have to realize that something is going to happen here, because anyone that has their money at FRC is going to pull their money out, period. If you're watching this in the news right now, you do not want to be next and hope that they insure you. Okay, so this is going to be a problem. We can walk through it right here and I'll show it to you. So here's KRE, and you can see how we're selling down. Now let me walk you through a couple things and show you how this can get systemic. This is from somebody that is long MTB, right? I did very well with this. It went up to 130. I still have a position. I'm looking long term. But there could be systemic risk to this market. And that's one of the things that we're not discussing. And yes, we're going to go through some earnings, but you need to get this concept. Everyone's looking at the Nasdaq and why it's dropping and not understanding that you have systemic risk. And if FRC has to liquidate its assets because nobody wants to buy them, and you're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars, it's going to move the market, period. That means that every single one of these regional banks is going to have to readjust their balance sheets. Okay, all the losses that we know of, that we've talked about, okay, all these losses here, this all tier one capital debt and what percentage of unrealized losses they have. Okay, this whole median line skews over. Okay, if nobody buys, and when I tell you it's hundreds of billions of dollars because they're allowed to lever, if no one buys it, we have a real problem. And the Fed's trying to look for somebody to cut a deal with and give them some kind of kicker on it. And this is becoming an issue because no bank wants to get involved. And it's a real problem. It's a real problem. Yeah, and you also have the size of the banks that's an issue. And I'll give you a great example, okay? Here is PACW. They came out and said that they are increasing their deposits. Stock hardly moved. Take a look at this today. Stock hardly moved, okay? Ran up on the news, back down, conference call went excellent, came all the way down into the close. Okay, this is not a company problem. This is a systemic problem to regionals. And the problem only exists because the current administration, and I'm not making this a political statement, is just allowing this to happen. The day that they came out and had that conference call, this should have been halted, period. It should not be allowed to trade. It is quite evident that they have massive problems and this is going to zero. And it's spreading throughout the entire group because everybody's looking at it and going, well, who's going to be stuck having to buy this debt? Is it Goldman? Is it JP Morgan? Okay, are they going to get good terms? Are they not going to get good terms? We just don't know. So this is what we're dealing with, right? And until this uncertainty comes out, you can take a look at XLF. Until this uncertainty settles, okay, and it all started with the dumpster fire of FRC in that evening. So that's what we're dealing with right now. I don't know what FRC owns. I have no idea if they have equities that they have to liquidate. Okay, I don't have a clue. But I do know that there will be leverage and people will have to delever. And if they have to delever, that could be the Nasdaq. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, if you take a look at ES and walk through that, and you might want to listen to this video a couple times tonight. So there's a lot in here that I'm going over. And I felt the need to, instead of coming out with memes, to really hammer out some things tonight so that you are prepared for tomorrow. So comment if you like this format. If you don't, comment as well, I guess. So, but if you take a look at what's going on here, okay, here you are in ES, 4,200 can't break it, boom. 40.80 was our support. We went through this in the pre-market, it broke, that's it. There's nothing to talk about. Okay, it's got to get back over 40.80, then 4,100, and go up in $20 increments where all those stops are, and get through 4,200. Until that happens, we are dead. It does not mean we're broken. It does not mean we're going back down to the lows. But it does mean that you could pull back to 38.50. I mean, that is realistic and that will be painful. So keep that in mind, okay? That is definitely something that you need to keep in the back of your head. So if we take a look at this, and I'm just going to walk you through it, like the SOXX, okay, there is nothing redeeming about this. We talked about this, and if you get the newsletter, please get the newsletter, link in description, it's free. And right here, we've been talking about this MACD for some time and how it's broken the zero line. I mean, it was telling you exactly what was going to happen. It told you a week ago. If you haven't gotten the newsletter in a little bit, or you put yourself on the wait list, bear with me. I'm literally, I just got back over COVID. So just bear with me. I am behind in some things, just FYI. I figured I might as well let everybody just know that. And thank you for your wishes. Yes, I'm definitely doing better. So if we take a look at what's going on here, right? And let's just click on this and just mark that. And we can see that this is rolling. Well, we don't have any leadership in tech. It's all gone. Okay, here was XLC, that was leading. This is where we are. This is the chart that we go over, XLK, all the time, right? And we start looking at this. XLK is rolling. How is XLK rolling with Microsoft up 25 points? When you start thinking about it, we're fighting an uphill battle here, guys. And we need to take that into account. Start looking at some of the defensive plays. Okay, XLV. So XLU, all right? So this is all breaking down. Nothing is safe. And when you start seeing nothing being safe and there is no safe haven, you need to have your antenna up and you need to pay attention, okay? I can't stress that enough. Could you have some kind of crash? Yeah, you could. You could have something pretty ugly here. And I think that people need to be aware of that they could see a lot of pressure come on this market. I'm not calling for a, quote, 20% down day. I'm telling you that you could have a major pullback, that we're due for one, and that we have zero leadership here. And I don't see any sectors that are picking up any of the slack. We're talking about energy sometimes, and even that is rolling. So without any leadership, and the majority of these, go look at the MACDs, they're all rolling. This is time for you to understand where those levels are that I just walked you through, like an NQ, And then when you get up to those levels, what you want to do is you want to short into them. Okay, that's what we've been doing. It's been working. That's the game plan that you want to have. When you get up to those levels like 13, you want to short into them. Okay, I'm going to save everybody a lot of time. Meta's conference call, not on it yet. Haven't listened to it yet. Earnings were stellar. Everything across the board, firing on all cylinders. I'm not even going to go over it. You can see by the stock. I'll save everybody a lot of time. It was very good. ROKU's was actually decent, and then it just kind of, at the end of the day, just kind of fell back down to earth, which is kind of sad because I was off like gangbusters and started doing pretty well. But overall, as far as earnings tonight that are out there, you had KLAC as well, kind of just bonking around. eBay, kind of just bonking around. The one to watch tomorrow is Meta. I'm not saying you can't go long Meta and do exceptionally well with it tomorrow. What I'm saying is that there are key signs overhead in this market. And until this resolves itself, and I really think until FRC resolves itself, no one is going to commit capital to this market. We went through that chart yesterday. So if you could do me a favor with this video on social media, please share this because it's really important for me, this information I put together. It's really important for me that people get this and understand what's going on in the market. There's so much nonsense out there. It's absolutely staggering. So if you take a look at these lows right here, okay, when institutions said, we've had enough, we're not buying, okay? When you see that, it's usually led to a period where you have some kind of top and then you come down as they buy as the market comes down, right? But there's something else that we've been talking about. When you have these spreads like this, and when you see the spread between dumb money, which we refer to as retail, right? We refer to dumb money as retail, and we refer to smart money as institutions because dumb money's been outperforming. So if you take a look at this, it's the spreads that you need to concern yourself with. The spreads are the issue. Now, let me give you an example what I mean by this. Okay, see these right down here and how wild that spread is? And now you're under this level. This is pessimism, meaning the spread is so wide that it's pessimistic. Okay, that was the peak, right? And then when it's so optimistic, the spread, that is the bottom. Okay, so there is nothing here that is redeeming, that is telling us that, hey, the institutions have our back here, they're going to buy. No, it's telling you the exact opposite. Okay, it's telling us the exact opposite. And so we need to be extremely careful here. That's it. Have a good evening.